Good morning, all. So access management is a feature in Anypoint platform to manage and organize the APIs, assets, and applications. So for this, first of all, we need a main business group or parent business group. Under the parent business group, we have to define users and roles, or also we can even create a sub business groups. And mainly, what is business group? So business group is a line of business. For example, there is a parent organization, human beings, and parent organization is performing two types of businesses like life care services and another one supply chain solutions. So in life care services, they have hospitals and they are going to provide services that are related with healthcare. And supply chain solution, it is a different business. And in this particular stream of business or line of business, they are going to get the items and they will place the items on the online or in the store and they are going to sell to the customers. So these are two different businesses, and to perform the activities or to maintain these applications for these two business groups, we can create a separate business groups within the Anypoint platform. So to maintain the applications for each of the business, we can create separate business groups under the parent group. And for each of the business or organization, there will be different employees working in the organization and they will have a different role. And for each of these business, since we wanted to develop the applications and integrate the applications, we need different environment. And under each of these business groups, we need these different environments. So now log into Anypoint platform. And after login to Anypoint platform on the main dashboard, in the management center, click on the access management. And to create or access this access management menu, first of all, we need a permission like organization administrator. And then only we should be able to perform all of these activities. So to verify what are the roles and what are the business groups, you can go to top right corner and here you can see HPT. So this HPT is a business group as of now. It is a root business group. And go to your name. Under that, check profile. So this profile is having a master organization HPT and we have a domain associated with the organization. And go to membership. So within membership, you can see that we have an organization administrator role. So we are able to perform activities within the access management. Go to access management. Now we are going to create two business groups under parent. And for that, we are going to give a name as HP Life Care Services. And we also need to add an owner who is responsible for maintaining the business group. And that owner can create a sub business groups under this main business group. And that owner is responsible for creating any child business groups also. And to provide that permission, we need to check this particular checkbox. And if any environments wanted to be created under this particular business group, we need to provide a permission. Owner can create environments. So click on add business group. We are going to create one more business group. And this business group is for supply chain solution. Add owner. And for this business group, we don't want to create any child business groups, uncheck it. And we still wanted to create environments. So check the box for environments and click on create. So we will see the difference. For HB Lifecare services, we have provided an option like owner can create the business groups. So he is able to create child business groups, and we can see that option cancel. And for HP supply chain solutions, there is no option for creating a business group. And if we wanted to delete this business group, we can select that business group or click on delete. And for each of these business groups, there will be a business group ID and also associated with the client ID and client secret. Now we will go to users. So click on users. So basically within the organization, not only one person can handle all the responsibilities or all the roles. So for that, we are going to add the users, whoever are responsible and whoever can perform that activity. For that, we have to invite the users, and by using this invite user, we can provide the email addresses of the employees that you wanted to invite into this business group or under the organization. And whoever are going to accept the invitation and log into the Anypoint platform. If we wanted to provide any default role for them, then you can choose the roles here. Click on cancel. And you can verify the pending invites that were sent and which are still pending by checking in the pending invites. So we will check the roles. So roles are a set of permissions that are created to assign to a user, and that user can perform the activities. And if we wanted to create any additional roles or custom roles, then you can click on the add role. Under the add role, you can create a role name and the description just for role 1 and then add role. And for this add role, go to that role. Within here, we can add the permissions for different types of activities like API governance and API management, and also for design center or exchange. So there will be different types of permissions that can be associated to perform the activities. So we can assign multiple permissions to this particular role, and we can assign the users here. So here, whoever were already added into the user section, then we can choose them and assign it to the role. And to delete the role, we can click on this delete role on the top right corner. And now we will see the environments. So here by default, two environments are available, design and sandbox. And to add an environment, click on the add environment and provide the name. So for development environment, give the name as dev. So select the environment type as sandbox. All the lower environments, testing environments and load testing environments, development environments, we need to create under the sandbox type. Click on create. And also click one more environment. For example, we wanted to create QA environment. Another environment, production. Production environment type, select it as production and click on create. So here, design environment is something that we can deploy the flow designer applications. And in the sandbox and production environments, we can deploy our applications from Runtime Manager or Cloud Hub. And if you want to delete any of these environments, you can select that environment and then click on delete environment. And environments are also associated with client ID and client secret. So by defaultly, whenever we have created the environments, the Cloud Hub admin for the environment specific roles are added. And within that, we can check the permissions. Within these permissions, we can go to manager, runtime manager. And here you can see that the environment is dev and he is responsible for creating the applications or deleting the applications. So these are the permissions that are assigned to this environment and under the role Cloud Hub admin dev. In this way, we should be able to add the specific permissions and specific environments. And we can assign these roles to the users. Here you can check who are the users associated with this role. If we want to add any new users, we can add here. And we can delete the users, existing users as well from the option cross mark. Now we'll see another option. Like there is an external organization. External organization means we are one of the organization, like Human Brains is an organization. Likewise, there will be a Tata group. So if you want to create or provide an access to our asset, then we have to register under the external organization. So that we can see, go to external access. And within external access, here we can see our business domain name or organization domain name, HPT5. Likewise, for Tata Group also, once they are on the Anypoint platform, they will have one domain name. So we need to add the domain name in the add organization. So for example, Tata one. And this organization we are adding here. Likewise, our domain name HPT5 should be added within the Tata Group's domain or external access. Then only we should be able to add or share the assets between each other. So in this way, we can add the external organizations and you can provide the assets to them. That we will see in the exchange session, how you can share the assets. Now we will check runtime manager. So go to runtime manager subscription. So in this subscription, we can see like whether it is the trial account or what is the subscription level. Like subscription tier means it will represent like whether it is a platinum account or a gold account or it is a titanium account. So based on the level of tier, the options like V course and VPCs will be changed. And this production or sandbox V course, we can see for sandbox, we have a V course of 0.1 already used within the 1 V core. And for each of the environment, we have different types of V cores. Like production, we have 0 since it is a trial account, and sandbox we can see 1 V core. And also we have design box V cores. Likewise, we have all the details that are related with this subscription. And we will see what is VPC and load balancer. So to understand this load balancer and VPC, first we will go to the runtime manager and we will see what are the applications deployed. Go to runtime manager. And within runtime manager, you need to choose the environment. Under which environment you want to manage the applications. So here there is one suppliers API and it is having a URL. Copy this. Our API name is HPT suppliers API only, but it is also having the suffixes like region and the Cloud Hub IO suffix, since it is deployed into the shared load balancer. And to access this application, we have to provide a URL like this, like application name and the resource name. So first of all, we will try to understand what is load balancer. So load balancer means we have a organization or a network, and within this organization, we have an application. So there is application A and also application B. So we have application supplier API and another application employees API. So these applications we want to deploy into an environment, and it is deployed in dev environment. So whenever we deploy the applications into Cloud Hub, these applications will be deployed with the workers. So there is a worker one, and this application is deployed into worker 3. So here worker means it is a mission. So application is deployed. And whenever these applications are deployed, and we can give these URLs to other applications or other consumers. So they can send a request to the APIs. And whenever they are going to consume our services, they need to use this URL like protocol and application name. Along with application name, they have to use the region and Cloud Hub extension and also the resource name. Since these applications are deployed into a Cloud Hub common runtime, these applications will share the Anypoint platform default shared load balancer. And whenever we are going to send a request, the request will be sent to these applications. For example, if we do not have any load balancer, then the request will serve like, so there is a request one. So request one will be sent to this worker, and request two is coming for the supplier API. And whenever a new request is going to be sent, if there is no load balancer, then worker one has to get the request and they need to provide a response as well. So for all the requests, we need to send a response. Likewise, if there is any request for employees API, then the request will be sent to worker 3, and from worker 3, we have to give the response back to the service or request for each and every request. For example, if there is a huge traffic for these APIs, then we won't be able to give responses to all the requests within the time, and some request might get timeout because of huge traffic. And to manage this traffic, we might need to deploy our applications into multiple instances or multiple workers. So for that, we are going to create or deploy our applications. And for that, we are going to deploy our applications into multiple workers. So we have one more worker. And these workers will have APIs. This is worker 4 and worker 5. And to these workers, we are going to deploy our application, supplier API, employees API. So for one API, we have two instances or two workers, so that we should be able to route the traffic based on the availability of the worker. For example, we have sending request one, and that request one, we should be able to route to worker one. And while the worker one is working, while the worker one is processing the request one and giving the response, if there is another request, second request. So whenever second request comes, by defaultly, it should be able to identify whether the worker one is busy with something. And then we need to route that request to another worker and process it without waiting for the response of the request one. So in this way, we should be able to manage the traffic and process all the requests, and also we have to give response within the time. The customers or consumers of these applications, like supplier API or employees API, whoever are consuming the applications. So they can trust the applications. So they can trust that these applications or services are reliable and we can consume them and we can deploy our applications into productions as well. Otherwise, if we are not able to provide the response within the time, then they will raise an issue. It is not going to handle the huge traffic and we cannot use these services. They will raise an issue to handle huge traffic. We need to maintain the load balancers. So load balancer is responsible for routing the traffic based on the availability of the workers. So in other way, the applications and request will be sent to the load balancer instead of directly sending the request to workers. So there will be load balancer, and in this load balancer, it is shared load balancer. Because it is common to all the applications deployed to Cloud Hub, irrespective of the subscription. So instead of sending the request directly to the workers, we will have a load balancer, and the load balancer is responsible for sending the request to the available workers. So the request will route from the load balancer. So whenever a request is sent to the application, so first it will route to the load balancer. So there is a request one, and request one is sending to so and so application. So based on the application, it is going to send the request to the particular worker of the API, and request will be sent to the workers. And if the worker one is busy, then whenever there is a second request for the supplier API, then the second request will be sent to worker 4. Likewise, it is going to route the traffic and it is able to serve the applications and give the response. So this response will be provided, and this response we are going to send to the load balancer, and from load balancer response will be sent to the consumer. And if there is a request for the employees API, then the request will be sent from load balancer to employees API worker. And likewise, it is going to serve all the requests and it is able to provide the responses. This is how a load balancer will work. And since these applications are deployed into a public domain or public runtime manager, it is going to share the load balancer across the globe. So whenever we are going to deploy our applications, we are having an extension with region as well as the Cloud Hub IPO. It is because it is a public domain. And since it is public and sharing across all the users, we can call it as a shared load balancer because it is sharing the resources across the accounts. And for the shared load balancer, the protocols and the applications will be served on 8081. Whenever we are going to deploy our applications with the 8081 HTTP protocol, then it is going to serve for HTTP request with 80 as a port. So the request will be routed like 80 and 443. So for all the HTTPS requests, whenever we are building the APIs within the Anypoint Studio by using a HTTPS protocol and also deploying the applications by using 8082 port. So then only we can deploy our applications and the traffic will be routed from 443 from the public domain URL. And to deploy our application with HTTP protocol, we need to use 8081 as port for the listener, and we can deploy our applications. And the traffic for these HTTP URLs will be routed from 80 port. In generally, within organization, we do not deploy our applications into the public domain, and we do not share our services to all the public, and it should be internal to the organization. So in order to create and deploy our application and limit it to the organization, we need to use a dedicated load balancer. That means we can create the load balancer, and also instead of using this region and Cloud Hub IO extension, we will have our own namespace. And also by using that namespace, we can access the applications internally. In that way, we can have our own network. So load balancer common for all accounts. Shared load balancer is common for all accounts. And dedicated load balancer is private to the organization. And whenever we wanted to create our applications and deploy into dedicated load balancer, we need to create the application with 8091 as port if it is an HTTP protocol based service. And it is going to serve or map to the 80 port. And to deploy our applications into the dedicated load balancer, we need to create our applications with 8092 port for HTTPS services. And these will be able to port and map the services to 443 port. And one main thing, and there is one more main thing, like to create this load balancer and deploy our applications onto the load balancer, we need to map the applications and we have to map to the load balancers. And that load balancer should be within the private cloud. If we need to create any dedicated load balancer, first of all, we need to have a VPC, that is virtual private cloud. So within virtual private cloud only, we should be able to create the dedicated load balancer. So within this VPC, we can have and map the databases and other systems by using IP addresses allow list. So whenever we create the VPCs, virtual private cloud, we will have to provide the IP addresses list. So within our organization, if we wanted to allow only particular systems that are, and within the organization, if we wanted to connect with particular applications or services, then we need to maintain them or provide them in the IP allow list. Then only we should be able to access them by using the IP addresses. For example, there will be a SQL database or Oracle database, or there might be other REST services. So instead of accessing them by using the namespace from the Mulesoft applications, we need to provide them by using the IP addresses. Dedicated load balancer architecture will be like, we will have a VPC, and within VPC, we have VPC, and within VPC, we will have a dedicated load balancer. So this dedicated load balancer is responsible for sending the request. And now instead of accessing the applications or services that we have deployed into the runtime manager, we need to access it differently. So our application names will be like So our new application architecture for the applications will be like there will be an VPC, and within the VPC we need to configure the dedicated load balancer, and the traffic will be routed into the particular dedicated load balancer. And this load balancer URLs will be like, we will have dedicated load balancer name, and after that we will have the application name, and we will have a resource name. Instead of having the region and cloud hub IPO, we will have a syntax and URL information like this. So example is, we have a non-prod load balancer, and we have deployed the application to dev environment, for example. So our API name will be like this, HPT suppliers API, and we can even have a dev and the API name, and then we have resource name. And if there is one more service, HPT employees API, then we can access the resource like this with the same dedicated load balance name and environment specific API and the resource. Likewise, we have to map all the resources and applications. And for example, if there is a QA API for employees, then we need to access the applications by using this URL. Likewise, we can create one load balancer, one dedicated load balancer for all our lower environments. And also for the production, we will create a separate load balancer. And that application and load balancer is responsible for serving the production request. In this way, we have to configure a VPC and dedicated load balancer. And the difference will be like, the applications that we are going to configure, we should be carefully deploy with the HTTP and HTTPS ports, and a difference will be like that. So I'm going to create this graph. So for a dedicated load balancer, we need to configure the HTTP request with 8081 port and HTTPS services with 8092 port. And now we will see the child business groups and how can you check. So go to Anypoint platform, and from here in HPT, you have multiple business groups that are created. And if you want to perform any activity within the child business groups, go to that child business group. And from the child business group, you can select the environment. If you want to deploy an application into life care services, if we wanted to deploy an application in the sandbox environment of the life care services, then we can go to that particular business group and that particular environment. And from here, we can deploy our application. So likewise, we can perform the activity. If we wanted to perform any activity for the access management within the HP life care services, then we can go to that particular business group and select the access management. And from here, you can create environments. For example, we want to add one more environment like pre-prod. So there is a pre-production environment and type is sandbox. And if we observe within these environments, we do not have previously created development or QA or production environments, because this is a separate business group under our parent business group. So each of the activities will be deferred, and if there are any users associated with this business group, he is not able to access the assets or the applications that are deployed into the HPT or root business group. Or also he is not able to access the other business group applications or services. In this way, we can perform the activities in child business groups also. Thank you.